The early 1980s, specifically 1983, was another one of these periods where there were immense public fears in the United States, Europe, and the Soviet Union about nuclear war breaking out. WarGames is a movie from 1983, which is essentially about a young computer whiz hacker kid who is able to get into the computer of a military facility and is interacting with it. And it's basically what we would think of as an artificial intelligence. And the kid believes that he is playing a game with the computer, but the computer is actually in control of the United States nuclear weapons and inadvertently almost triggers a nuclear war.
He found the right code word to play the game.
We're in.
But it was the wrong computer.
Shall we play a game?
How could I ask you that?
How about global thermonuclear war? Fine. All right.
What the hell?
So, in a way, this is both about nuclear war, but it's specifically about the risk of an accidental nuclear war, especially in a period in which a lot of the infrastructure of waging that war has been computerized, digitized, taken out of human hands. So it's reflecting a lot of anxieties that are both of its era, of the early 80s, as well as general fears that had already existed about the possibility that war could start without anybody wanting it to. And so something like WarGames is not only important because it's reflecting concerns about nuclear weapons and computers, but it's also feeding into those conversations as sort of metaphor. So if you say to somebody today, should we hand over control of nuclear weapons to artificial intelligence, they might come back and say, well, what about the WarGames problem? It becomes a sort of shorthand for what if the artificial intelligence is sort of not in our control.
The Day After is one of the great American movies about nuclear weapons. It was released on television in 1983. Over 100 million people watched this film at the same time because it was aired on television, and there were discussions on television after the film was aired. And the film speaks about an attack on Lawrence, Kansas. So not Washington, D.C. or New York City or someplace, but some small town in the American Midwest.
Well, I guess we could stay right up here for a while. I think you better go downstairs, folks. Please.
The Day After had a tremendous impact on millions of people because it spoke to the ordinary. It wasn't about heroes or leaders. It was about ordinary people in the American Midwest confronted with the awful reality of nuclear war, and everything is lost. Families are destroyed. Towns are destroyed, the countryside is destroyed, the whole world is seen to be on fire in this film. And the film's timing was enormously influential because it came 1 year after the enormous success of the anti-nuclear movement in mobilizing 1 million people to march in New York City in favor of a freeze in the nuclear arms race in opposition to the policies of the Reagan administration. So the film captured that public sentiment that nuclear weapons were bad and we needed to act. It also pushed back against the Reagan administration's policy to build 10,000 more nuclear weapons as part of the arms race with the Soviet Union. And Reagan himself credited the film and the movement in shaping his shift away from being a pro-nuclear advocate, which is how he had campaigned and governed initially, to wanting to make peace with the Soviet Union. And 2 years after the film came out, he had gone to meet with the leader of the Soviet Union and talked about the need to abolish nuclear weapons altogether.